Howdy folks, AJ coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and today will be part 2 to my Neverwinter review of the new MMO Neverwinter. It's still technically, they're saying it's technically still in beta, but it's actually a soft launch. I will put a link here to part 1 in case you didn't see part 1. I'll put it here so you guys can go back and watch part 1 of my review. I originally did that as kind of my initial review type thing, and then I decided because there was so much more that I wanted to talk about, I decided to actually do a two-parter. I was actually going to just do this part. Originally, I was just going to do a review on the Foundry by itself within the game. But then I decided there was other things I wanted to touch on, so actually I'm just doing a two-part review all the way. So I'll put a link for part 1, and here we go. So a couple of things I didn't talk about in part 1. One of the huge ones is the Foundry. The Foundry is the system in which it allows players to create content and adventures for the game. And then there's a rating system for people that play through your content to rate your content, and also to tip you, to tip the author if they really like it. With the currency, Astral Diamonds is the currency, one of the currencies in the game, but that's the one that you can tip. And the Foundry so far, from what I can tell, is pretty solid. The Foundry's on its own servers, so you can actually be playing the game, and the servers for the Foundry can go down, which means then that people cannot access any of that content. They're on separate, which I guess is kind of good and kind of bad. It's kind of good because you could still, you're not getting kicked out of the game. You can go do other things, but it's kind of bad in the fact that you can have a failure within the game when the game is still running, and still have a partial failure. So take it for what it is. But of course, again, everything in this review, it has a caveat of this game is completely free, so it doesn't cost anything to download. There's no box to buy, nothing. There's no subscription required. Of course, there's a cash shop. That's how they're going to make their money, but it's free. So these are merely observations. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to say they're criticism, because I can't really criticize something I haven't paid a dime for. So anyway, so the Foundry content that I've gone through, some of it's been good, some of it's been average. I haven't really gone through anything that I would say was horrible, that the content was horrible. I've gone through some stuff where the stories, and one thing that allows you to do with the Foundry is you don't just get to create a single adventure. You can create a whole franchise, a campaign, as they call it, as they should call it, of adventures. So there's there could be as many as who knows how many parts, if there's a limit or not. But I know there's one guy on there that's created one that he says is going to be 8 parts. He's got 2 that's published, but he says it's going to be an 8-parter by the time it's done. So some of it's really good, and the storytelling's really good, and the combat I've already talked about in the first part of the review. So it's definitely kind of like a game within a game, and it really solves, for me, it solves the problem of what to do at endgame, especially if you're not a raider, type person. If you're a solo person, I'm a soloer, and it's perfect because some of the Foundry content is made to be soloed, some of it's for groups or whatever, but there's a lot of it that's okay to be soloed. And I'm assuming if the game is really popular, there's going to be a lot of content constantly coming out by people that are putting this stuff out. And it kind of solves the problem of, what to do at endgame when you've constantly got new content coming out by the players. So from that standpoint, I think that's really good. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the communication from the developers on this game so far has been really good. And when I say communication, what I mean is when there has been a server outage, when there has been an issue with, say, their homepage or whatever, where people are trying to register keys, for items or whatever it is. The As far as keeping people up to date on what's going on, and you can go on their Facebook page is what's really been doing it. So if there's been an outage, by the time people get to Facebook to check and see, they've already posted on Facebook saying, yes, we know there's an outage, we're working on it, and then they're really good about giving periodic updates. Now, I know there's a separate issue with people that have purchased the Founders Packs and stuff like that, of them not being able to get their items and so forth, and they're going through customer service to get that. I know I'm calling that a separate issue. I'm talking about regular service outages and maintenance, unexpected maintenance, and all those things. They're being really good about keeping people up to date on Facebook. So, and everybody on Facebook, the comments have been about 95% positive, saying thank you for, I got kicked off the server, went straight to Facebook, and it said, yes, we're aware and we're working on it. And then the person said, I'm going to take a break anyway. I'm going to go get something to eat and whatever, and not a whole lot of butthurt people out there, because they go on, they see that they're working on it, and they go take a break. So that seems to have been really good. One of the things that I really, really like about the game is I'm an explorer in any MMO, and I like to check all the nooks and crannies and see, and hope that developers have put, items for people that are willing to take the time to explore areas, to kind of reward them. And this game definitely does that. There are random treasure chests that you'll find when you're going through dungeons and so forth, and even out, when you're doing outdoor. I mean, they're still instance, but they're outdoor areas, wilderness areas. And my tip to you is check everywhere, behind things, go to areas where off the beaten path, because I have found a lot of goodies doing that. And they have these things, they have Dungeoneer kits, Arcana kits, Religion kits, Thievery kits, and Nature kits that you purchase that are relatively, inexpensive in the game, that you take into when you're going on a dungeon crawl. And each class has a skill. Like I play a rogue, so the Thievery skill, I don't need a kit. I can any nodes that I come across that require Thievery, I can just open them. But for other things, like I need Religion kits or Dungeoneering kits or Nature, etc. And what sucks is if you don't take enough with you, and you start finding a bunch of these nodes that have different things in them that you can use for professions and so forth, you kind of kick yourself in the butt, because you're like, man, I wish I would have bought some kits to get to, and when you're an explorer, you will find more of them. Because if you just go the beaten path, you're going to miss a lot of stuff. They've gone out of their way to hide stuff in the nooks and crannies and stuff. So do yourself a favor and stock up on some kits before you go dungeon crawling. The PvP, I finally went in and did some PvP in an arena, and I like PvP in some games. Other games I can't stand it. In this game, the thing that I really like is I can do everything with my mouse. In other games, most of the time you have toolbars, and you either have to take your fingers off the WASD keys to get up to your, to your numbers for attacks, or you've got to click on them, with the mouse. And some people, if you have a Razer Naga that has for the MMOs, it has all the buttons on it, I guess you could map it all to that. I don't have one of those. But even without one of those, the way that combat's set up in this game, I have enough buttons on my mouse, my two thumb buttons, my middle mouse button, and left and right, and that's all the attacks that I need to PvP. So as far as me being able to compete, it's much more effective for me in this game than other games. Star Wars The Old Republic, I did okay. I seemed to do all right in that. World of Warcraft, I was always getting, and that could have been a gear issue, but it just seemed like I was always constantly looking down You know, instead of looking at the, you know, at who was attacking me or whatever, I'm looking down trying to find, you know, commands, you know, for attacks and everything. Where in this game, I'm looking straight ahead. I'm moving as, you know, and going into stealth, coming out of stealth, using appropriate attacks. You know, I've got one that I can launch and get behind for a backstab and all that, and it's seamless, you know, with the way that they've got it set up. So I'm really enjoying the PvP aspect. Now, I wish there was open world PvP. I kind of think that there should be PvP servers. Now that may come down the pike, who knows? But anyway, right now there's not open world PvP. The next issue is the graphics. Some people have said that they don't like it, and I am not one of them. I think the graphics are beautiful. I think some of the scenery and the models of a lot of creatures and everything are just fantastic. And I'm running everything as high as I can set. I have all the settings as high as I can get them, and I don't have a brand new rig or anything like that. And I'm running fine. My frame rate's staying about 25, which is okay for me. Now, some people want 40, 60 frame, you know, all the time. 25 seems to be smooth for me, and I'm fine with it. So, and it looks gorgeous to me. So, I really like the graphics. I'm pleased with that. So, overall, I would say if I was paying for this game, if I had to pay a subscription for this game, if I had to buy it, pay a subscription, I would have to give this game a 7. And the reason that I say that is a couple things. The professions, in my opinion, are they're an afterthought, like which is in most games, you know, and it's very lacking for someone who wants to do professions. It's kind of an afterthought, and it's just not. I just don't agree with that. So, if I was paying for the game, and then the other thing is the lack of when you go into taverns and stuff, as far as the role playing features and things like that, that's lacking. There's no way to gamble. There's no. You can't buy a beer. You can't buy an ale. You can't. You know, the bartender sells healing potions. That's all they sell. I mean, how silly is that? You know, that from a role playing standpoint. Now, having said all that, the fact that the game is completely free, I give it a 9. Because I'm looking at it as I have not paid a single red cent, and I have had hours and hours of unadulterated entertainment with this game. So there is no way that I can complain about that. So from that standpoint, as it stands right now, it's a 9 for me. If they turned around and said we're making it subscription, well, that would drop it way down because they need to fix some stuff. But as it stands right now, it's getting a 9 from me. So anyway, that's it. That's the end of the review here. Again, this is only beta. That I may do a re-review down the line. You know, they're probably going to change a lot of things. There's still at least one class I think that's still to come. So you know, take it for what it's worth, and we will catch you guys on the flip side.